much, Melissa. And I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of all of you. I am not a politician. I am an architect. My name is Josh Smead. I am a father of four. I have four very small children, actually. My oldest is 6. I have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So I do not get a lot of sleep sometimes. And I'm used to being up at all hours, but it's the kind of activity I really love. My kids are really the center of my world. Like I said, I'm an architect. My wife is as well. That's where we met in graduate school. We have our own company now in Liberty called Liberty Design Development, but we are self-employed. We do a variety of architecture work in the Kansas City area. And then we've also started the building portion of our company too. So I'm now a licensed general contractor in the city of Liberty. And our first project we're doing actually is in our own backyard. We're building a garage. I've been doing everything myself. I've excavated the foundations. I've actually poured the frost footing a few weeks ago. So it's still moving. So that's something I'll be working on during the campaign too. So that's a little bit about me. So really, I've been trying to figure out, why I want to run and why I think we need to have new leadership in Washington. Really, there's 3 major principles that I'm focused on. Family. Obviously, I'm a father, and we need support for families. We're not getting enough. And it's hard to grow a family. It's hard to buy a house. It's hard to be young. So family, liberty, and not just the town. Is the concept of liberty and what we're seeing in our government right now, and people taking liberties from us, and the executive branch trampling over the legislature. I mean, those are our liberties. So that's a huge, huge problem. And then also the future. The future is something that I don't think we talk about quite enough in politics. It's that next day. And I think that we need politicians in Washington who have to live with the outcomes of your decisions. And you're not just going to go out to pasture, to retirement. Once you're done, you don't have to live with any of this. I think it's very important to live with the decisions that we make. So those are sort of some of my 3 principles, but there's 4 topics I want to discuss too as to why I'm running and sort of issues that I think need to be addressed. First and foremost, the will of the people. And that sounds simple, but in Missouri right now, we're having some real issues with that with our politicians from Jefferson City to Washington, D.C. Because in Jefferson City, we're seeing this. We voted and we passed Proposition A, and we passed Amendment 3 in this past election. And they're trying to overrule the will of the people through Jefferson City. And Sam Graves is doing that in Washington as well. He co-sponsored the Life at Conception Act in January after we already passed Amendment 3 and protected the right to a woman to have an abortion in the state of Missouri, the right to controlling her own body. So now, after Roe versus Wade is gone, my daughter has less rights than her mother, than my mother. Now she has less rights, and we've got our politicians, such as Sam Graves, is trying to give legal protections at the moment of conception at the national level. So when the president said, we're going to get rid of Roe versus Wade and leave it up to the states, that did not mean they were going to leave it up to the states, because they don't think that we're smart enough, or they don't think that we have the right answers. But we do. We're following the rules. We're passing the initiatives, and we're passing these laws, and they're still not listening. And obviously there's a huge issue in the Republican Party with following the will of the voters. We saw that on January 6th. So it's a huge issue. So the will of the people is a cornerstone. Oh, sorry, if you need to get by, I can pause. Yeah, that's important. I won't trap you in here either. So the will of the people, that's a major concept. Another one are our entitlement programs, or what some people call them, but Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. Sam Graves is going to cut these right now. And what they want to do is Social Security. So I know, I'm 35 years old. So I am 10 years beyond the constitutional requirement to go into the House of Representatives. So that's good. I understand I'm young, and I'm young as far as politicians go. But I also have been paying into Social Security my entire working life, and I don't expect that I'm going to see any of that. It's a huge issue. And they're closing Social Security offices. This whole topic of Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security is honestly difficult to even talk about in these settings because they're doing so many things so fast. Closing field offices, cutting off the Missouri Health Net. 1.3 million Missourians use the Missouri Health Net system. Almost half of those are children. So they're dropping children off of insurance and not looking out for them. That is what Sam Graves, our current representative, is doing to us. So that is not right. Another one is fiscal responsibility. So in 2001, I looked this up out of curiosity. In 2001, when Sam Graves entered office, we had $10 trillion of national debt. We have $34 trillion today. So in that time, it's a huge amount of money. Now, they just kicked the can. They were supposed to have the whole debt ceiling raising this past January. They just kicked the can, I think, till about September. And then they're going to vote, and they want to put $4, $5, $6 trillion more on our national debt. We have to pay for that. My children have to pay for that. It is not sustainable. And Sam Graves is complicit in that because he votes for it. Because of his bosses in Washington tell him to jump, he says, how high? That's his reaction every time. And we need... Thank you. So then the last one that I'll sort of cover here is, I've been trying to figure out how to describe this, but in a lot of ways, it's really the fundamentals of civics, of our government, our three co-equal branches. We have a unitary executive right now, or someone who thinks they're a unitary executive in the White House. He thinks he's a king. He thinks he can illegally impound money. Congress has already passed as law. The money is spent. And he thinks he can take that money because he call it waste, fraud, and abuse. It's not waste, fraud, and abuse. Sure, there's things that need to be fixed in our spending. Obviously, it's a huge issue. But that spending comes from people like Sam Graves, who's been in office for 24 years, voting time and time again for all of these things that continue to balloon the national debt. So he can't call himself fiscal conservative, but that's how he's going to treat the national debt. And every time he's going to vote to increase it if the Republicans in Washington tell him to do so. It's a huge issue. So the unitary executive and the three branches of government is something we need to reclaim. Because I think that being a member of the House of Representatives, it doesn't matter the party. When the executive branch is saying, I'm going to run for another term, I'm going to do 3 terms. I don't like the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, so I'm going to, with a stroke of a pen, say that it doesn't apply anymore. That is not how our government works. So we need to retake our government for us as the people. And obviously, Sam Graves and our current representatives are not doing that. So that's why I feel the need to run. So in closing, I believe that America is in need of a new generation of leadership now. It is a immediate need. And obviously after this last election, it didn't go the way that we wanted it to, which is all the more reason why we need to fight even harder right now and figure out how to fix these issues. Because I want to be able to leave the country. It's like the forest. I want to leave it in a better condition for the next people. Those are my children. There's a lot of skin in the game. So that's why I'm running. I'm here to listen, and I'm just getting started. So I'm very excited to be here. I appreciate you all having me. I'd love to, if I can answer any questions, I'll try. But that's pretty much what I have to say.
Questions? For union? No. Anybody else? Questions? Oh, well, we'll talk about that too. Well, I'll bring it up now, Terry. I was just told that the doctors at the VA are now having to make a list of what they do every week.
The 5 things.
Yes, the doctors at the VA. So that's going to hurt.
It's infuriating in so many ways because I think that's one thing that I want to work as a Democrat and with the Democratic Party is it feels like veterans, military, a lot of those things is a Republican thing, and it's not. And it's very clearly not because the Republicans are cutting benefits for veterans. It's a huge issue. I don't understand how they can say they're pro-veteran and make cuts to the VA. Those are just not the same thing. Sure. It is. So, yes, it's a huge issue. So, yeah, veterans issues, that's a big one.
Yes.
And I'm working, as I said, I'm an architect. I'm working on a project right now at the VA hospital. They're doing an expansion. I'm doing the drawings for it. It hasn't been canceled, but it has been one thing I've been looking out for. I'm kind of curious, even something where this is already in the pipeline and they need it, will they cancel it? And they haven't so far. But I know they're laying people off. I was at a meeting at the Northland Democrats, and there was a veteran who worked for the VA who had just been laid off. And now he doesn't have insurance for his children. How can they say they support veterans? And how can we as a country say that we respect our armed services if we're not going to support veterans? Yeah, that's not American.
It's very un-American.
It is.
Also, kind of a comment about Santa Graves. I would love to see him in person and ask him to his face, do you work for Missourians or do you work for Trump? And
I agree.
I would love to get that answer because I kind of know already.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if he knows.
I completely agree. I completely agree. When Yes. Well, after this last election, Sam Graves spent quite a bit of time complaining in the press because he didn't get transportation secretary. So he wanted a promotion. He just won re-election. If you don't want to be there, I'll help get him a new job. I'll help him get a new line of work. Yeah, agreed. It's a huge issue. He doesn't work for us.
Well, his newsletter is he's for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then his voting, wasn't it the transportation bill he voted against, or also in the rebuilding of the crumbling bridges?
Mm-hmm.
But every time they're out there working on a bridge, there's his face.
Yep.
Photo op, like he supported it.
Mm-hmm. He shows up to the ribbon cuttings. He had an op-ed that he put out last week talking about how him and Trump are going to rebuild the infrastructure in the 6th district with all that awesome infrastructure money. Biden's infrastructure money that he voted against. It's like, how do you sleep at night,
Yeah, politician.
Yeah, that's true.
Not a public servant.
No, he's not. So.
Do you have an idea of how to get some of these farmers? They're just, I've always kind of been told that that's what brings this district to Sam Graves every time, is the farmers.
Yeah.
Yes, and I have been studying that, and I want to crack the code because I've also looked too, and from what I can understand, about 20 to 30% of the economy of the 6th district is directly agriculture. So it's not the majority even. And granted, transportation, logistics. I deal with buildings; they're everywhere. There's a huge amount of things that go into agriculture in an ancillary way that's related to it. But that's not the only group of people that live in the 6th district. I am fortunate as I've been talking to people. I'm an architect. My wife grew up on a cattle ranch. I did not. I grew up in suburbia. So, it's not my area of expertise. And I'll be the first to admit that. And I'm not going to pretend I'm something I'm not. But I'm also finding as I'm talking with people that I am running into experts who do know what they're talking about. And I can use them as resources because I think that's what I'm finding is in the Democratic Party, we have a huge amount of resources, a wealth of information. We just need to figure out the right combination and get it out there. And I absolutely think number one is going and talking to people, getting out there. There's a group in North Kansas City called Do Something. It's a grassroots organization. You might have seen them on Facebook. And if you haven't, I recommend looking them up. Kat Henry is running it. A guy named Tracy Steele is working on their social media. I had a meeting with him last night, actually. And what they're doing is they're putting together a food drive on April 19th, if you want to mark your calendar. On April 19th, they're having a food drive. And what they're doing is they want to increase engagement in off-cycle times. So we come off the election, everyone, in this case, we're not happy, but we come off the election and now all the volunteers scatter to the winds. So what they want to do is they want to maintain interest and engagement with people, and they're being very successful with that at this point. So their first big event is this food drive, and really I would tend to agree with how they're doing it. They've invited me. I'm going to be there as well. We have to go to where people are. When they're cutting off USDA contracts, which fill food pantries in rural areas, I want to, as I'm traveling around to all the rural areas, I want to fill food pantries as I go. Because I think the Democratic Party needs to be the party of, even if we're not winning, we're doing the right thing. We're filling the food pantries because people are out of work. They're going to go hungry. This is a real issue, what they're doing to this district. So the hope is that we just need to get out there and I think put our money where our mouth is and put food where people's mouths are. And that is one way of doing it. But I think we're going to have to find a lot of different ways of doing it too. It's a good question.
Anyone else?
I would just like to say that I'm trying to gather stories of people in our district who've been impacted by any of the cuts, regardless of what area it would be in. I'm trying to collect personal stories so I can start a sort of low methodology. And as I go around and talk to people, I'll have these stories to share with them so that they can also include their story and they have time to tell me what their story is. I think it's important for us to be storytellers as to what has happened to each of us or someone we know. So the more people you talk to, the more stories you're going to hear. And when you hear these stories, I wish that you would make some notes for me, and then I will give everyone my email address. I need Melissa, most of you know Melissa, and you can send me your stories. So I just want you to collect stories for me, people impacted by their pets.
Anyone else?
I'm not sorry.
No worries.
This is just a comment. You know, I wrote to Josh Hurlbert about vouchers and all these kinds of things. And I wrote about Amendment 3. And what I get back, of course, is I'm representing my constituents. and it hit me in the face and I thought, okay, he's really not lying to me because he is representing his constituents. Those things that got passed in Kansas City and St. Louis and Columbia. So these guys can look us in the eye and say, no, I am representing my voters. So how do you combat that?
I agree. I see what you're saying. I think that so much of it is they need to be reminded that all of us in their district are their voters. Really, at the end of the day, yeah, I know what you mean. And I think that's a tricky one too, because, and I think the whole will of the people and Amendment 3, I mean, obviously that's a dicey topic, but then we start talking Proposition A, minimum wage, paid time, sick time,
Right.
and they want to take that away too. So I think that there's definite areas where we can reach people that I hope really resonates. And if abortion isn't their topic, maybe having sick time off so they can take care of their kids is going to be the one that does it,
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah, I just
that's an interesting.
want a way to combat that because
Yeah.
it just kind of hit me. Well, he probably is representing the people that voted for him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
But it's like rural America, there's a rural Missouri, there's enough voters, representatives from all those districts that's how they can override everything in Jeff City.
Yeah, which is why we have our ballot initiatives to try and unstick the gears in Jefferson City, and here we are. So, yeah, it's wild.
So the trick is getting the people out to vote. So many didn't vote.
Yes, huge issue with that this past
Huge
election.
issue.
Or were disenfranchised.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
As
So if we can get them to the polls,
yes.
I hope it's still good.
it's been mentioned, Melissa mentioned, that she seems like to feel that most of the Democratic people in Missouri are scared. They're afraid to go out and rock the boat
Mm-hmm.
because of all the intimidation by everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to reassure them that we're strong, we're there, and please join us.
Yes, could not agree more. We cannot bury our heads in the sand just because they're doing what they're doing. This is the time I feel like too. That's why I had to do something. I mean, it's like I could volunteer. I mean, there's all sorts of things I can do, but for me, this is the most direct way. I just want to go straight for the issue, try and do my part. Could not agree more.
Well, you've got ours.
Yes.
Well, appreciate it. Very much appreciate it.
Maybe we'll come in.
See, she hangs out with me, gets in trouble every time.
I just want to say that my daughters and I marched in that march in Kansas City last weekend, and it was an awesome experience. I mean, just being surrounded, there were so many people marching, just being surrounded by them. And what really got me too was the response we got from the people driving by us. I mean, the majority of them were honking and giving us thumbs up and everything like that. And that kind of made me feel like, okay, there are people that, are with us. And it was just a really good experience. And
There's supposed to be another one this Saturday.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
All the councils.
Yeah. I mean, Kansas City's having one and St. Joe's having
Yeah,
one.
St. Joe. I recommend, now this is, anybody can do what they want to, okay? I recommend going to the events north. Let's face it, Kansas City has numbers. St. Louis has numbers. North, we need more out here in the north. And of course, my association with Cameron is that we did 2 weeks full off riding in the St. Patty's Day Parade. We were the only political group, which we thought the other side would be there. It was amazing. I would say at least half the crowd, the women would be going. And they'd be clapping, and it was like, well, that's for another time, another story. But we weren't sure. I felt like we might get a smackdown, and we didn't. We were graciously received it like, finally, somebody, so,
I think that's gonna be a good poll with the women,
yes.
especially with the latest executive order that Trump passed through. Oh my gosh, and the passports and.
Yes, the SAVE Act. So, yeah, let's do stuff up north, let's plan stuff up north, and we'll rock it up here. Because one thing that Jess Piper did say, she does her homework. She said that farmers represent 17% of rural Missourians. The other 38% of the rural Missourians aren't farmers. We need policies for those people. We need affordable internet. Yes, we have satellite clear to the Iowa border, but who could afford $180 a month?
Yeah.
And so all of those things in itself, let's help ourselves up here, so.
Could not agree more.
I see a silver lining in some of these tariffs. Trump merchandise is increasing exponentially because of tariffs.
Because he makes everything
Made
in China.
in China.
Yeah.
Bibles, flags.
That's true.
So
But bring
Yeah.
business
his
back to
supporters going to have a hard time keeping
That's
up.
Well, when they don't get their,
And I do think the tariffs with Canada are gonna affect the farmers a
Yes.
lot.
that's why.
Yes.
And that might make them a lot more receptive to you.
That's what I'm wondering.
It's gonna
So
hurt the farmers.
it will. I've been kind of studying, and I plan to do much more. How Republicans think of Jimmy Carter in rural agricultural areas, because he started adjusting things with grain imports and exports, wiped out a whole generation, or is blamed for wiping out a whole generation of farmers, small farmers. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. I mean, what they're doing with the tariffs. I mean, how can you possibly sustain a business financially when, it's 10% higher over here, now it's 25% higher, and there's no rhyme or reason. Something like 80% of the minerals for fertilizer comes out of Canada. It's like, that's going to affect all agriculture. I mean, it's a huge issue. It really is. Yeah.
The farm subsidies are out of control to a point where there isn't a young person out there in FFA that can get into farming on his own unless his family, generations passed down, he can get into farming or she can get into farming. And the subsidies are so out of control that the farmers that are wealthy with them now are taking that money. Did they show a loss? They're still taking the money and they're buying more land. So then they have more land to show a bigger loss. See that cycle?
Yeah.
It's totally unfair.
I mean, the whole deck is stacked to favor people with enormous amounts of capital. I mean, that's really how it is. And that the scales have to be tipped back, I think, into balance. I mean, it's always a bit of a seesaw. But yeah, I mean, they're putting on these tariffs and acting like, the 1920s and 1930s were a great booming economic time, as though there wasn't something right after that, that happened that maybe didn't work out so well. So yeah, it's a little bit mind-boggling. But I do have, so with me, I have a couple of QR codes for Act Blue. I've got a volunteer, or just if you want any more information for my campaign, I can take down your information. I've also got a few extra campaign buttons, which I'm making at home on my dining room table with my children. They're having fun. They love it because they come with these little like blank white pieces of paper, and so they I want to get. They draw on them, and we make them buttons. So yeah, they love it. It's been fun. But I have a few of those, so kind of unofficial, I think, until I get my merchandise store or whatever going with the consultants. But I have some in the meantime. I just wanted to share with you all if you like them.
I'll take a magnetic sign for my car.
Don't have that yet. I'll give you a rain check.
Okay, seriously, I drive
Yeah.
all over Hell's Half Acre.
Okay, awesome. I like the magnet ones too on the car. Yeah.
Good to have the union. bug on.
Yes.
Yes. That's exactly why. Yeah, this says very clear. I put "made at home with the kids" because I knew the union bug was important. This is just me getting it out there first. But yes, yes. So,
Anyone else?
Josh, do you have a campaign manager yet?
no, I have several people I'm talking to. There's a couple of companies, and then I've also got Marty Jacobs, campaign manager. He's the only Democrat to flip a Republican seat in the state of Missouri this last election. She's been in touch with me. We're having coffee next Tuesday. So I'm trying to get out there. I'm new to this. This is not my profession. And I very much recognize I'm going to need some experts who it is their profession. And there are a lot of them around. And I've also started really early, so I think they're a little bored. So they take meetings real quick right now. It's great.
Well, just wear the kind of shirts that you pull your sleeves up like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you met a gentleman named Shackelford?
No, I don't believe so.
He's in Liberty, and he was running for a local office. And I wonder if he's still in Liberty and stuff. If he would be, he would be a good person to help because he's been through it, and he was really smart.
I'll have to see if I can. I know several members of the city council, and I actually got invited. Harold Phillips is on the city council in Liberty. He invited me to an event. It's this coming Thursday at Heritage Hall in Liberty. Jess Piper is also going to be speaking at it. It's actually kind of her event, but they gave me 3 minutes too, so I'll take it. And then there's also one of the empty chair town halls next Wednesday that she's speaking at as well that they've given me an invite for too. So yeah, trying to make the rounds on all of those.
Very good. Anyone else? Going, gone.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you. No, I'll be back. I'd love to be back.
Okay. Is there anyone here to talk about the library? One of you ladies talk about the library?